Good morning and welcome to Recipe for Success. My name is Nancy Giacalone, and if this is your first time joining this podcast, the premise behind our discussions are that I have a tremendous love of cooking, I love business, and I love personal development. And one of the things I've discovered over the years is that there's always one key ingredient or technique that's critical to a person's success. So I'm very pleased to have with me today Josh Baumann. Did I say that right, Josh?
Baumann.
Okay. Yeah. I got it close enough. Maybe didn't get quite the emphasis in there, but with a last name like Giacalone, I feel like I have a little bit of grace on people's names.
Yeah, yes.
So one of the reasons that I really wanted to invite Josh on the podcast today is I've been following him on LinkedIn, and he has a really cool thing that he's doing specifically targeted towards men and dads about how to be the best versions of themselves and lead their best life. So I really want to kick it off by inviting you, Josh, to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and also your day job.
By day, I am an accountant, and by night, I am a coach. And they coexist nicely. It's been a progress over the last 18 months. And for me, it really started with the things I had going on personally. And I love LinkedIn, and there's so many coaches here that inspire me. And I never worked with a coach. And I had a few things going on with my life and my job that I couldn't really understand certain things about myself. And I didn't know how to make some changes or what changes I even need to make in terms of that, because I was struggling at work. And a lot of times when you struggle at work, the first solution is, just get a different job, which to a lot of people, that it might make some sense. But just like in life, when we buy things for happiness, it's a short-term happiness. And ultimately, we still have that void. And then we might, buy something else. But for me, I looked at it as maybe it isn't the job, maybe it's myself. So through that, I hired my first life coach right before COVID hit. Like if there's any time that you needed it, it was probably right. Literally signed up about 2 weeks before it all shut down. So a combination of that and with the slowdown of not being able to go anywhere, I was able to spend a lot more time with myself and really slow down to see what is going on. What's my heart saying? What's my mind saying? What's my body saying? As we get into the hustle of every single day, and we just get in this focus, and there's so many things coming at us, and it's hard to step outside of that to really slow down. So that's where COVID for me was helpful, because I was home enjoying my family more. We were doing things that we have never done before because we were limited on what we could. So we had to be creative at home, and it actually deepened all my relationships with my son, my daughter, and my wife.
Well, that can be a very enlightening situation. I strongly believe in coaches for many different purposes: a life coach, a business coach, a sales coach. I mean, if you think about it, many of us, when you go to the gym, you hire a trainer because you know what to do, but you're not sure if you're doing it right. And just that extra set of eyes and that little minor correction can make all the difference in the results. So I think that people should embrace personal coaching, business coaching, because there's so much incredible value in it. And to this day, I still consider myself to be as much of a student as anything, because there are so many people out there that know so much more than I do about a million situations.
I would agree. I'm continuing to learn, and I feel that's a never-ending process until, well, our last day here on this planet.
It is. It is. One of the other things that you said really resonated with me as well. And you said that when you realized you were dissatisfied with your job, you also realized it might not be the job, because the job probably hadn't changed from when you started. It might be you, and that was maybe the thing that had changed. I feel that I know that in my personal life as well, is that anytime I'm getting disenchanted with a job, a friend, a situation, whatever it is, I really have to look at myself first and see what's changed in me and decide if that situation is where I still need to be, or if maybe I do need to move on. But it's not just as simple as, okay, I'm going to go find a new job, because the issue that brought it up is still there.
Yeah. Yep. And that's exactly it, because buying something to fill that void, well, it's not going to fill it. And it's not running away from problems or the situation. It's about, that's when you're supposed to attack it and, really be all in and figure it out, understand, like, what's the root cause, what's the root problem here, and not just fix the symptom of, short term of potentially getting another job, because, they're going to have probably the same problems that you just had. So my perspective, we had just gone through a new ERP implementation.
That's always fun.
That was a lot of fun. And we're a smaller company, so I handled all of the financial aspects, plus do all my regular work. So a lot of hours were put in, a lot of learning along the way and sacrifices. And like you said, the job really didn't change that much, but in my mind and perspective, it did. And there were a lot of mornings where the last thing I wanted to do was get up, stay up as late as possible and sleep in as late as I could, rush, get to work, and then all of a sudden you're there. And I just knew something had to change, but I thought it was more internally than anything externally.
Well, that's a lot of self-awareness right there. I'll tell you that, to be able to recognize that. Okay, so you realized something needed to change. You did some work with a coach, but then how did that translate into you deciding you wanted to share that with other people, and in particular men, and even more specifically dads? I mean, it's a very, targeted approach, which I like, but how did you make that decision?
Yeah. First, I never hired a coach before, so I wanted to see how the process was. And if it didn't go successful, I probably wouldn't be talking to you today. It was a great experience for me just from the start. And, really one of my main concerns was, okay, it's going to work when we're in the process and when I'm working with someone. But what about when it's over? Am I just going to go back to the same person I was? And it came again down to a trust issue with myself. I just spent some money investing in myself, and am I just going to lapse and end up another 6 months later where I was a year ago or 18 months ago? And yeah, it really gets down to your foundation. What do you want out of life? And through my experience, I saw my change, my transformation. I believed in the process, and it's been a blast ever since. Truly, every week that goes by, I feel like I'm living my best week of my life. It's not exactly 100% perfect every single day, but it's just the growth of where I was to where I am.
Well, I really appreciate that. And quite frankly, I mean, I know you know it, but the world needs plenty of good, strong male role models. And by that, I don't mean somebody who can run a great business. I mean somebody that can be a great human being, a great spouse, a great father. And if you're able to help others achieve that, I mean, that is extremely commendable. So I know you mentioned that turning point, and you said you kind of wrote an email to yourself. At least that's how I took it when I read your when I read.
So I emailed the coach that I followed for about 3 years ago. We connected, and honestly, I felt like I was finally at that breaking point where something had to change. So I had emailed him. It was about 11:30 on a Sunday evening. I have his phone number. I could have called, I could have texted, but that would have kept me up even later as I'm tossing, back and forth and really just struggling with Monday tomorrow and not being excited for it. So that email had just started me signing up with him and just getting this whole movement, this whole process that I've started. So it's just as simple as one email can really change your life.
Well, I think something as simple as saying, I need help, because that's essentially what that email was.
Yep.
Can change your life. Because if you don't tell people you need help, they might not notice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's take that a step further. So why do you think that men in particular have such a hard time acknowledging, A, that they need help, and then B, asking for help?
Well, being vulnerable feels uncomfortable. Your ego and pride gets in the way quite a bit. And for me, I just thought that sometime in the future would be better. But if you're not as good as you can be in the present, you're not going to be any better in the future, looking forward. So a lot of things in there. As the leader of your family, there's a lot of pressure to potentially have all the answers, but as human beings, we don't have all the answers and solutions. And for me, being quiet and shy, I've been with my wife for over 20 years, the combination of, dating and when we got married. So even after 20 years, there were certain things that I didn't express to her. I didn't know how to do that or how to feel a certain way. And it's been a blessing because I've gone almost 40 years on this planet, and not understanding everything about me and being able to express some of my deepest feelings.
Well, I think that anybody that says they express all their feelings all the time, that they communicate perfectly, blah, 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 they're just lying. And not necessarily intentionally, but the fact of the matter is what you're talking about is hard, Josh. It's hard to do. And that you're doing it and you're encouraging other men to do it as a process of not only helping them, but holding you accountable to yourself as well, I think is really a wonderful gift. So, okay, one of my favorite, of course, I always stalk everybody, just in case you were wondering. And by guess, I do as much research as I can on people. And one of your lines in your LinkedIn profile says, courageous conversations start here, which I love, but
yes.
What do you mean by that specifically?
Okay, I'm going to drop a bomb here and dive about as deep as you can go in a relationship. As a dad with kids, sometimes it's not always pretty. Sometimes my wife feels like a roommate. And it's about having these courageous conversations and not, talking to her that, hey roommate, there's a problem here, throwing up the white flag. And some of my needs aren't being met. I understand, what's going on, but it's about letting that other person know. And this can be a conflict of, hey, I need your tender, loving care, to put it nicely, and I I don't want this roommate feeling of, I should just sleep on the couch tonight.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if you don't, oh, sorry. So
no,
if you don't tell your partner or spouse, that's on you. And I did that so many nights of being frustrated and, losing sleep, but she didn't even have a clue. So that's my fault.
100%. I mean, it can be something as simple, and I know tons of women, including myself, have been guilty of this, where we're annoyed because our husband doesn't do something that we think they should know we want them to do. But they have no idea, A, that we wanted it, B, that it bothered us, and C, that we're building up a whole case in our minds against them because of this thing. So it's on both sides. And if you don't tell somebody what you need and what you want, not saying you're going to get it 100% of the time, but you can't even work on it.
Nope.
So
yeah, she didn't know what she doesn't know. And if I don't tell her, and that was the part of me being quiet and shy. One of the things is, I honestly don't like dealing with a whole lot of conflict, like most people probably, and talking about things that you're uncomfortable talking about. And even after this many years, to finally bring it to the surface has been a challenge of, well, why didn't you bring it up a long time ago? And that's what it's all about, of continuing to not only grow personally for yourself, but grow your relationship even after 20 years. And through coaching, my wife, we don't talk about work a lot. She doesn't talk about hers. I don't talk about mine. And she's not really passionate about coaching like I am. So we don't talk about it a whole lot. But the one thing, especially over the last 18 months, our relationship has grown more in the last 18 months. And I would probably say the first 18 years. And it's about me giving more into the relationship.
that's awesome. So I'll tell you a funny story. So I've been married 35 years, so I can relate to long-term relationships, but we were, I don't know, probably 10 years into our marriage because our son was around 3 or so. And through my husband's work, they sent him to, we'll call it a self-improvement program, but it was for, his work as well. And he came back and he was just all fired up on it. And he's like, you need to do this. And I'm like, nothing wrong with me. I don't need to do it at all. Well, finally he wore me down. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go. And I remember walking into this room full of people, because this was, again, 20 years ago. These things were live. And I stood there with my arms crossed, and I looked at, I'm like, glad I'm not one of you guys that needs all this help. I mean, no, that was what was going through my head. I mean, I'm just brutally honest. Of course, my attitude changed fairly quickly. It was one of the best things I ever did. I continued on through the program. And to this day, I use those tools, and I'm reminded, especially when I get a little twisted up in my head, I'm like, okay, let's go back to some fundamentals and some foundations. But the point is that as a spouse, I saw the changes in my husband, and I was pissed. I was mad because he hadn't done it for me when I'd asked him to do it. But now all of a sudden somebody else got him to make those changes. But that wasn't it. He was able to hear it objectively. So like you do with your coaching, he was able to hear it objectively and then process what I had been saying to him through that lens and come back in with a better attitude. But all I could see on my side was, I wasn't important enough for you to do it for me in the first place. So even with coaching, it can be tricky with two people involved in a relationship to understand that you're not changing because of the coaching. You just might be more aware because of the coaching of the needs that are inside of a relationship.
Yeah. And that's a starting point of just being aware. I'll just throw in there, my wife would not like it when I would not make the bed.
Right.
Because in my mind, well, we're just going to get back in it tonight. And what, make it every day. But that was one of her pet peeves. And it was just starting off with just a few simple things. of being, aware of what she likes, so make the bed how she makes it. And that, that one little simple thing makes her a little more happy.
Yeah. And it's a low cost, low pain point concession to improve your overall relationship. So I really like that. Okay. So I've got a couple of things before we get into our questions, but one of the reasons I wanted to have you on as a guest is I really believe in what you're doing. I think this is an important mission, and I love seeing men step up and say, I need to be a better man for my community, for my spouse, for my children, etc. Do you happen to be connected with Ryan Miller?
I don't think so.
I'm going to connect you with him. You need to connect with him. He has he's amazing. Has a similar message in addition to some other things he does. And then another person that I particularly like is Ryan Eaker. He's a fitness coach, but he also speaks to everything through his fitness. His fitness programs are to allow you to be the best version of yourself as a man and a dad. So two Ryans I'm going to connect you with. I think that you would find tremendous value in both of them. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so one of the common themes among my guests recently is, what am I talking about? Sorry, this happens to me. This happens to me too. Sorry.
Mental health.
Exactly right. So this has been a common theme among a number of my guests recently is mental health. As a result of COVID, as a result of the political environment, all the things that have played into making it kind of a difficult world to navigate for the last couple of years. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how mental health plays into the ability to be the best possible dad and or partner.
Yeah. Well, starts one day at a time, and it's just, we have so many conversations going on in our head every hour of every day. And with me, a lot of the times, first of all, I was my worst critic. I was kind to everyone else, and I was least kind to myself. So really getting the framework to unconditionally love yourself before you can really love anything else. And I would always be hardest on myself. So I didn't know how to be my biggest cheerleader. And if I have all these internal battles going on in my mind, I'm definitely not in the frame of mind to be the best that I can be for myself or for my family. And it's a simple question that you can ask yourself every day is, what am I telling myself today that's a lie?
I like that.
Along fear, confidence, courage. But every day we hold ourselves back for whatever reason, and it's just not the truth. I mean, it becomes the truth because that becomes our reality and our perspective. But just like you, Nancy, when you went to that training 20 years ago, it helped you like see differently with your same eyes. It's not like you got new glasses or you can get a new set of eyes, but for some reason, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I'm seeing things that I've never seen before about myself. That it's just mind-boggling about when you become aware of certain things that you might do in your daily life. But one question, yes, like, what lie am I telling myself today? I can't do this. I can't do that. The weather's not good enough to, do this, or I'm tired. I'm not going to go to the gym. I'll go tomorrow. It's just about those conversations, and then just asking, what's possible, what if, and really, am I living my best life?
Yep, 100%. Well, I love it. Okay, so we made it to the part of my podcast that I subject every guest to, and that's my 5 burning questions. Most of them are the same every time, but I always mix them up a little bit. But this one never changes. So, What is your absolute favorite food in the world, and can you cook it?
Yes, I can cook it, and it's a combination of lobster and baked tenderloin.
Oh my God, I'm coming
Surf
over.
and turf. Surf and turf.
Yummy. That sounds amazing. Okay, so what is the one character trait that you admire most in other people, and why?
I would have to say love, because it's a hard thing to show, to act. But when you're doing something out of love, there's no intention, there's no catch to it, and it's just about doing it because it's the right, it's not only the right thing to do, but in your heart you believe it, and you don't even think about it. It'd be like you running in front of a car to get a kid out of the way. You're putting your body on the line to save another human being, and if you don't love them, I don't think you're gonna well
Make a different choice.
make a different choice. Stop and think about it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now let's flip the mirror on you. And what's the one character trait that you're most proud of, yourself, and why?
Right now, it's I can finally accept where I am in life. Most of my life, I always thought about the future, and by age 25, I need to do this. By age 30, all these goals and bars that I need to reach. But I lost so much time and wasn't really enjoying the present moment. So for me to be able to just say I am where I'm supposed to be.
I love that. It's true. Okay, so if you could wave a magic wand and you could get all men to do one thing to be a better dad, what would it be? Don't
settle in your life. Things don't have to be, well, this is just the way they are. That's a lie you're telling yourself right there. Just don't settle. Be the best person you can be the best dad you can be the best husband. And life is what you make it.
Okay. All right. So what is your secret talent, or something people would be surprised to learn about you?
I love working with wood.
Okay. Like what kind? I need a little more detail.
So, we look over there.
Oh yeah.
I got a small bar behind there, and I made all that with the sheet, and then I cut, pieces out of there, and it's a sliding door, and sitting on a bar stool. So I just love working with wood, and I created a pallet wood bar behind me here. And pretty much all the wood was for free, but the exciting point is from start to finish, but really when you stain it. Because that's when all the grains and all the character comes out of the wood, and just going from something ugly to something beautiful.
That's, it's a great analogy, because it's kind of like cooking too. You've got all these ingredients, but when you finally plate it, it's just like, oh, it just sings. Yep. All right. So last question for you today. So who's the one person that you have connected with on LinkedIn that you would most like to meet in real life? Or if alternatively, you could choose like a podcast host or something.
Yeah. I follow him. We are not connected. It'd be Grant Cardone, for sure. I've been with Cardone University since November of last year. So, honestly, I say he's one of my coaches, because I listen to him about every single day through the zillion hours of video he has.
Great. Awesome. All right, Josh. Well, that brings us to the end of our time today. Are there any parting words you'd like to leave our audience with? And how can they get in touch with you if they're interested in your coaching program?
Ending words. Amazing begins and ends with you. It's simple there. And mainly through LinkedIn. I should have put my full name there rather than just Josh, but connect with me through LinkedIn. With working full-time and coaching part-time, I'm not on all platforms, but LinkedIn is my 99%. platform that I use. So just connect with me here, reach out, talk anything in life or coaching, any questions you might have, because all I have is time.
Well, that is fantastic. So if for anyone wants to reach Josh and you're unable to connect with him directly, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will make that connection for you. Josh, thank you again so much for your time today. And thank you everyone who joined us live.